Welcome to Private Stories, where people discover who they really are. My name is Ethan Blake. I am 35, and until recently my life felt stable in a quiet, practical way that never begged for applause. I worked as an operations coordinator for a large logistics company in Chicago, not glamorous, not the kind of job that impressed strangers at rooftop parties, but it paid well and I was respected by the people who actually mattered, the ones who knew that if schedules collapsed and trucks stopped moving, entire supply chains would choke within hours. My days were spreadsheets, routing plans, emergency calls at dawn when a shipment stalled somewhere in Nebraska, and late-night emails about fuel surcharges and warehouse capacity. It was exhausting, predictable, dependable. At home, my life ran on systems so ordinary they were invisible, groceries ordered every Saturday morning, bills auto-paid on the first, gym bag packed the night before so I had no excuse to skip. Even my coffee maker started at 6:10 each morning as if discipline could be programmed into plastic and wires. Those routines were not boring to me, they were ballast. They kept everything steady when the rest of the world tilted. And for almost 5 years I had something else I believed was steady. My relationship with Victoria Shaw. Victoria worked in brand strategy for a fast-growing lifestyle company, the kind that sold expensive simplicity to people who could afford not to think about money. She was magnetic in a way that made rooms rearrange themselves around her, tall, elegant, always dressed like she had just stepped out of a magazine spread, quick with compliments when she wanted something, quicker with charm when she did not. We met at a charity gala neither of us actually cared about. She joked about the dry chicken. I made a comment about how the wine tasted like regret. She laughed in a way that felt like winning something. By the end of the night, we were sharing a ride home, trading stories, discovering a dozen small coincidences that felt like fate even though they were probably just statistics. 3 months later, half her wardrobe occupied my closet. 2 years later, we were browsing engagement rings. 7 months ago, she proposed to me on a beach in Santa Monica at sunset. Dramatic, cinematic, very Victoria. On paper, we made sense: dual income, attractive couple, respectable careers, future plans that sounded impressive when spoken out loud. Her friends loved labels like power couple. Mine mostly just asked if I was happy. When we went out with her circle, I always felt slightly underdressed even when I was not. Designer heels clicked on marble floors. Watches that cost more than my car flashed under restaurant lighting. Conversations revolved around investments, promotions, networking. Who knew which venture capitalist who had just bought a second property in Aspen? Eventually someone would turn to me with polite curiosity. So Ethan, what exactly do you do again? Operations. Oh, so logistics, like managing things. That tone people use when they mean organizing other people's importance rather than having any of your own. I would smile, shrug, take a sip of whatever overpriced cocktail was in my hand. Under the table, Victoria would squeeze my knee, a silent signal that she had noticed and was steering the conversation elsewhere. I thought it meant she had my back. Looking back now, I wonder if she was just embarrassed. The night everything broke began like any other Thursday. I picked up Thai food on the way to her condo downtown, juggling the paper bags while unlocking the door with my shoulder, since she had texted that she was stuck on late calls and starving. Inside, the apartment glowed with cold blue light from the television, sound muted, some financial news channel flashing numbers that never stopped moving. Victoria sat curled on the couch, phone inches from her face, scrolling with intense focus. She glanced up briefly, smiled without warmth, then returned to whatever held her attention. "Hey, I brought the green curry you like and those dumplings." Thanks," she murmured without looking away. I unpacked the food, arranged containers on the coffee table, grabbed plates and napkins, small domestic motions that once felt intimate and now felt oddly formal, like setting a table for a meeting rather than dinner with the woman I planned to marry. We started eating, or rather I did. She pushed rice around with her fork, eyes flicking back to her phone every few seconds. I tried conversation about work, about a delivery crisis we had solved, about a new gym opening nearby. Her responses were fragments. "Yeah. Nice." Finally, I set my fork down. "Okay, what is going on?" She exhaled slowly, still not meeting my eyes. "Nothing, long day." Victoria, I leaned forward. That is not a nothing face. She dropped the phone onto the couch as if it had suddenly become heavy, then rubbed her hands together, a nervous gesture I had rarely seen from someone normally so composed. I had lunch with the girls today, she said. Something cold brushed the back of my neck. Okay. They were asking about the wedding, about you, about our future. And she hesitated just long enough for dread to bloom in my stomach. They asked questions, what you do, what kind of life we will have, whether you are ambitious enough for what I want. Ambitious enough. The phrase landed like a dull object against bone. That seems normal, I said carefully. What does that have to do with you acting like your phone is more interesting than your fiancé? She flinched at the word fiancé. Ethan, please do not make this harder. Harder than what? I am trying to be honest. Honest. That word always sounds noble until you realize it often means I am about to hurt you and want credit for it. Then be honest. She stared past me toward the dark window as if rehearsing lines written somewhere outside the room. They think I am settling. Silence expanded, dense, suffocating. Settling how? They think I could be with someone more impressive, someone with bigger goals, someone who moves in the same circles, someone who can give me the life I want without compromise. My ears rang softly, like pressure changing before a storm. So your friends think you are downgrading by marrying me. They did not say it exactly like that. But you agree. I did not say that. You did not disagree either. She pressed her lips together. They just worry I am thinking too small, Ethan. They know what I have always wanted: international travel, a house in the right neighborhood, private schools, connections that open doors, a partner who elevates my position rather than stabilizes it. Stabilizes it. As if stability were a flaw. I make good money, I said. We have talked about budgets, about realistic plans. I know, she said quickly. You do fine. This is not about failure. It is just that talking to them made me realize maybe I have outgrown the life we planned. Outgrown. Like I was a starter apartment she intended to upgrade from. Are you hearing yourself right now? You let your friends dissect whether I am good enough for you, and instead of shutting it down, you came home to deliver the verdict. It is not a verdict. It is a conversation about compatibility. No, I said quietly. It is an audition I did not agree to attend. She leaned forward, eyes bright with frustration. Why are you making this adversarial? I love you, but love is not the only factor in a marriage. Apparently not. You are comfortable, she continued, and there is nothing wrong with that, but I am not comfortable. I want more. I do not want to spend my life calculating every expense or flying economy because it is practical. The routines, the spreadsheets, the careful planning that had always been my way of protecting our future suddenly sounded to her like chains. Something inside my chest cracked, not loudly, just a thin, precise fracture like ice splitting under weight. So what exactly are you saying? She hesitated, eyes softening for a fraction of a second. I am saying I need to think about whether we are truly aligned long-term. There it was. Not a breakup, not yet. A downgrade to provisional status. From fiancé to maybe. From partner to project under review. From where I am sitting, I said slowly, it sounds like you and your friends decided I am not impressive enough and now you want me to prove that I am worth keeping. That is not fair. Neither is this. My hands rested on my knees to keep them from shaking. If you think you can do better, if you believe you should aim higher, then you should go do that. Her eyes widened. Wait, what are you saying? I am ending an engagement with someone who is not sure I measure up. Ethan, do not be dramatic. I am not dramatic, I am clear. Because the man who walks down an aisle should be chosen, not tolerated while someone wonders if an upgrade might be available. Her voice sharpened. You are overreacting. Maybe, I said, but I would rather overreact now than underreact after signing legal documents. I stood, grabbed my jacket, my heart pounding so hard my fingertips tingled. We can talk about this, she said, rising halfway from the couch. There is nothing to talk about. I will send your ring back tomorrow. Her face drained of color. You cannot just walk out. Watch me. I left without looking back. The hallway outside her apartment suddenly too bright, too narrow. like the world had tilted and forgotten to tell gravity. In my car, I sat gripping the steering wheel, breathing slowly until the shaking eased enough to drive. At home, I did not turn on any lights. I sat in the dark for a long time, the engagement ring heavy in my pocket like a small piece of metal that had once represented certainty and now felt like evidence. Eventually, I placed it on the coffee table beside a half-empty glass of water and a stack of unopened mail. Then the part of me trained to solve problems woke up. Laptop open. Calendar pulled up. Vendor emails drafted. Venue canceled, deposit lost. Catering canceled. Photographer canceled. Everything methodically dismantled, line by line, like reversing a construction project until nothing remained but an empty lot where a future had been planned. At 2 a.m, I finally closed the laptop. Silence filled the apartment, thick but not hostile. For the first time since that conversation, I felt something unexpected. Not grief, not anger, relief. The next morning I woke before my alarm, not because I was rested but because my body had forgotten how to sleep normally. Gray winter light leaked through the blinds, turning the apartment into a washed-out version of itself. Familiar furniture arranged in a space that suddenly felt too large for one person. For a few seconds I lay still, disoriented, until memory returned like a cold wave. No wedding, no fiancé, no future that had been discussed in careful bullet points and optimistic timelines. Just me, and the ring on the coffee table. I got up, showered, shaved, dressed for work with mechanical precision, muscle memory taking over where thought would have slowed me down. The ring went into a small velvet box, the box into my coat pocket. At 8:30, I stood in front of the jeweler where Victoria had bought it. A high-end boutique on Michigan Avenue with discreet lighting and security guards who looked like they could double as professional linebackers. The salesman recognized me immediately, his smile flickering with polite confusion when he saw I was alone. "Good morning, sir. How can I help you today?" I placed the box on the glass counter and slid it toward him. "I am here to return this." His expression shifted into professional neutrality, the kind trained employees wear when witnessing quiet disasters. "Of course," he said gently, "do you have the receipt?" There was a 90-day return policy with a restocking fee. I walked out 20 minutes later holding a check that was smaller than what we had paid but large enough to feel like a refund on a life I no longer wanted. Outside, the city roared with indifferent normalcy. Taxis honking, commuters rushing, a man arguing loudly into his phone as if his crisis were the only one that existed. In the car, I texted Victoria. "Ring returned. All vendors I booked are canceled. You are free to aim higher now." The message showed delivered almost instantly. Then my phone began to vibrate. Victoria calling. I watched her name glow on the screen. Let it fade. She called again and again. By noon, there had been 14 missed calls and a stream of texts that ranged from confused to indignant. "Ethan, what is going on? We need to talk. You cannot just cancel everything. This is insane." I muted the conversation. At work, my phone buzzed non-stop on my desk until coworkers started glancing over with raised eyebrows. By mid-afternoon, I blocked her number. Some bridges do not need burning. They just need to be removed so you cannot wander back across them out of habit. The first week after ending the engagement felt like walking through a house I used to live in after all the furniture had been taken away. Everything technically still existed. My job, my routines, my gym membership, my Sunday grocery run. But the emotional architecture had vanished, leaving echoes where warmth used to be. Mutual friends reacted in predictable factions. Some sent careful neutral messages. "Hey, heard you two are taking a break. Hope you are okay." Others were blunt. "Dude, that aim higher comment was messed up. You did the right thing." What I did not know at first was what Victoria was telling people when I was not around to contradict her. According to my friend Daniel, who still occasionally socialized with her circle, she was not admitting the engagement was over. She was calling it a rough patch, saying I had gotten emotional, that I needed time to process. that we were working through things. On social media, nothing changed. Old photos of us remained. Wedding inspiration posts still received her likes. Friends tagged her in bachelorette party jokes, and she did not correct them. In her version of events, I was simply having a moment, something temporary, something she could graciously wait out. Control of the narrative mattered to her more than the truth. 2 weeks after I left her condo, Daniel mentioned something casually over lunch that made my stomach drop. So, you know the girls are still going to Miami this weekend, right? For what? He gave me a look of disbelief. The bachelorette trip. I stared at him. There is no wedding. He raised both hands. I know that, you know that, but apparently Victoria told everyone you two are just taking space. She did not cancel anything. Said she needed the trip. Of course she did. Image maintenance did not pause for inconvenient realities. I tried to file it under not my problem. Let them sip overpriced cocktails on South Beach and pretend everything was fine. I had more practical concerns, like recalculating my housing budget now that I would not be splitting a mortgage with someone who saw my stability as a limitation. By Friday evening, I had almost pushed Miami out of my mind. Saturday passed in quiet productivity. Gym in the morning, laundry, meal prep, the comforting rhythm of tasks that required no emotional investment. That night, I went to bed early with a book, the apartment silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and distant traffic. My phone lay face down on the nightstand. At 3:12 a.m. it began to vibrate. At first I thought I was dreaming. The buzzing continued, rattling faintly against the wood. I groaned, rolled over, squinted at the screen. Unknown number. Florida area code. I almost ignored it. Curiosity won. Hello. My voice sounded rough, barely awake. On the other end, there was loud music, muffled shouting, the chaotic acoustics of a hotel hallway at night. Then a shaky breath. Ethan, it is Lauren. I sat upright so fast the room tilted. Lauren was Victoria's closest friend since college. The one slated to be maid of honor, sharp-tongued, stylish, intimidating in a way that made most people slightly nervous. She rarely called me directly. Now she sounded like she might cry. Lauren, what is going on? We are in Miami, she said, voice quivering, for the bachelorette thing. I could hear her moving, a door closing, noise fading slightly. Victoria is passed out in the room. But before that she said some things about you, about the wedding, about what she is planning. My stomach tightened. Planning what? Lauren inhaled sharply. I do not even know how to say this. Just say it. She told everyone why you supposedly freaked out and ended things, she said bitterly. She made it sound like you could not handle pressure, like you got insecure about her success. A familiar chill spread through my chest. And she talked about the wedding like it is still happening, like you will come back. What do you mean still happening? She rebooked everything, Ethan. The venue, the caterer, the flowers, all of it, paid with her cards and her parents' money. She told people you just need time to cool off and that you will show up because you are too responsible to cause a public scene. Responsible, as in sacrificing my own dignity so she would not look foolish. I tightened my grip on the phone. Lauren, I told her it was over. I returned the ring. I canceled everything. I know, her voice cracked, that is why I am calling. Because what she said next. She stopped, breathing uneven. What did she say? He said if you do not show up, she will tell everyone you were controlling, jealous, emotionally unstable, that she called off the wedding for her own mental health. For a moment the words did not register. The room seemed unnaturally sharp, every shadow too defined. She said that. Yes, Lauren whispered, crying openly now. She said people will believe her because she is the one everyone likes, and her friends will back her up. Some of the others laughed like it was a joke. But I know Victoria, she meant it. I pressed my free hand against my chest as if that could steady the sudden irregular pounding of my heart. False accusations were not just gossip. In my field, reputation was currency. Lose it and doors closed quietly, permanently. Who heard this? Me and Chloe for sure, she said. She is here with me now. A muffled voice in the background confirmed it. The others were drunk, but they heard enough. Some of them were even encouraging her, talking about getting ahead of the narrative like it was a PR strategy. Of course they were. Brand experts managing a human life like a crisis campaign. Why are you telling me this, Lauren? Because this crossed a line, she said immediately. Breakups are messy. Rebooking vendors is insane, but whatever, this is something else. Planning to destroy your reputation because you will not marry her. Her voice hardened. That is cruel. You did not deserve that. A hollow laugh escaped me. She did not seem to think I deserved much when she decided I was not impressive enough. I told her she was being shallow and stupid, Lauren said quickly. I told her you were good for her, but she would not listen. Now she thinks she can bully you into the wedding, and if that fails, she will ruin your name. I cannot be part of that. There was a pause. Then she added softly, I should have called you sooner. You are calling now, I said, my voice oddly calm. That matters. I swallowed, the analytical part of my brain already shifting into action. Lauren, can you get any of this in writing, screenshots, messages, anything? Yes, she said immediately. She has been texting the group chat about the wedding still happening. I can save everything, Chloe will too. Do it. Document everything. Do not confront her yet. Just collect proof. Okay. Her breathing steadied slightly. I will send it as soon as I can get somewhere quiet. Lauren. Yes. Thank you. She exhaled shakily. He was my friend too, she said, but this is wrong. We hung up. I sat on the edge of the bed in darkness, phone still in my hand, listening to the faint mechanical sounds of my apartment as if they belonged to another life. 20 minutes later the phone buzzed again. Message after message from the same unknown number. Screenshots. Victoria's words glowing in small digital bubbles. He will come back. Ethan hates drama. He will not humiliate himself publicly. Worst case, I will say I had to call it off because he was messing with my head. Everyone already thinks he is intense. Intense. Controlling. Unstable. I could see exactly how she would frame it, ordinary boundaries twisted into pathology. I saved everything. Created a new folder on my desktop. Wedding documentation. The words looked surreal on the screen. People like Victoria believed stories were tools to shape perception. People like me knew stories had consequences measured in job security, professional trust, future opportunities. She wanted to control the narrative. I intended to control the evidence. By sunrise, I had slept maybe 20 minutes, the thin, restless kind that leaves your body more exhausted than before. Every time I drifted off, I saw those messages again behind my eyelids. Victoria's casual certainty that my reputation was disposable, that truth could be bent if it served her image. The city was barely awake when I opened my laptop and searched for attorneys. Not divorce lawyers. Not mediators. Someone who specialized in defamation, reputational harm, false allegations. The kind of legal fallout that could quietly destroy a man's career long before any courtroom ever became involved. In corporate environments, accusations did not need proof to do damage. They just needed repetition. I found a firm downtown that opened at 8 and forced myself to wait until 8:05 before calling, pacing my kitchen while the coffee machine sputtered behind me. Law offices of Carter and Hughes. How may I assist you? I need to speak with someone about a potential defamation situation. Urgent. I was transferred to an attorney named David Mercer. A calm, measured voice that carried the quiet authority of someone who had handled worse disasters than mine. Mr. Blake, he said after I explained everything, let us start with the basics. Has your ex made any public accusations yet, online or to your employer? Not yet, I said, but she is planning to. She said it in front of multiple witnesses. And you have evidence. Screenshots, messages, witnesses willing to provide statements. There was a pause. That is serious, he said finally. Document everything, timestamps, original files, do not edit anything. I told him about Lauren and Chloe. Good, he said, corroboration matters. Should I warn her, I asked. No, he replied immediately, do not contact her, not directly, not through friends, not through family, distance protects you. If she escalates, we respond. Until then, silence is your shield. I nodded even though he could not see me. What about her family? If they are reasonable people, he said carefully, intervention from them could stop this before it spreads, but only if you feel safe doing so. I did. Victoria's parents were not flashy like their daughter. They were practical Midwestern people who had built a comfortable life through discipline rather than spectacle. Her father especially had always treated me with quiet respect, asking about my work, remembering details, listening rather than performing interest. He did not deserve to be blindsided. After the call, I scrolled through my contacts until I found his number. My thumb hovered for several seconds before I pressed dial. He answered on the fourth ring. Ethan, good morning. Everything all right? No, sir, I said quietly, it is not. I need to talk to you about something serious. Silence settled on the line, heavy, attentive. Victoria and I are not taking a break, I said. We ended the engagement 2 weeks ago. Another silence, sharper this time. She told us you were working through some things. There is nothing to work through. I told him everything, the lunch with her friends, the conversation in her condo, the canceled vendors, the returned ring. Then Miami. Then the threats. Speaking it aloud made it feel uglier, more real. When I finished, he exhaled slowly. Are you certain she said this? I have witnesses and proof. I sent him the screenshots while we were still on the call. 10 minutes later, he called back. I spoke with Victoria, he said, his voice strained. She admitted she has been in denial about the breakup, claims she did not mean what she said, that it was drunken talk. With respect, sir, drunken talk is usually unfiltered truth. I agree, he said immediately, and I am not defending her. This is unacceptable. We are bringing her home today. There will be a family conversation, and I will personally ensure all vendors are canceled. You have my word. The tension in my shoulders loosened slightly, not relief exactly, but acknowledgement that someone else now saw the situation clearly. Thank you. He hesitated, then added with genuine sadness. Ethan, you have always been good to Victoria. I am sorry she treated you this way. You did not deserve it. After we hung up, I stared at the ceiling for a long time, heart beating in an uneven rhythm. For the first time since that phone call at 3 in the morning, I felt something resembling safety. Not complete safety. More like standing under a roof during a storm that might still flood the streets. Later that day, Lauren sent updates. Her dad flew in. They are packing to leave. It is bad. Another message. She tried to say you overreacted. Her father shut that down fast. Then, Chloe and I told the others what she said. The group is falling apart. I sat on my couch reading each message with a strange mixture of gratitude and grief. It was surreal watching a life I had almost permanently tied myself to collapse from a distance, like observing a demolition from behind protective glass. By evening, another update arrived. She is home. Her parents are making her call vendors herself. They are furious. Also, her maid of honor quit. Piece by piece, the illusion Victoria had constructed was unraveling. The image she valued above everything else slipping beyond her control. And I was not doing anything except documenting the truth. That night in bed, a disturbing realization surfaced. If Lauren had not called, if Chloe had not backed her up, if her father had not believed the evidence, I could have woken one day to find myself portrayed as unstable, controlling, manipulative, a villain in a story I never wrote. The thought hollowed something deep inside me. People imagine betrayal as loud, explosive, dramatic. Often it is quiet. A calm voice across a dinner table saying you are not impressive enough. A casual threat spoken over cocktails. Survival sometimes arrives as a phone call in the middle of the night. Monday morning, the world looked exactly the same. Traffic, coffee lines, office chatter. But something in me had shifted permanently. I worked through emails, meetings, logistics reports, clinging to routine because routine kept me anchored to gravity. Every hour or so my phone buzzed with another update. Her parents confronted her again. She tried to spin it. Her mother heard the recording Lauren took. She is devastated. I had not even known about the recording. It was only a few seconds of slurred speech, but the meaning was unmistakable. Victoria talking about controlling the story, about not letting me ruin her image. Another message. They made her delete all wedding posts. She is furious but doing it. A slow implosion. An ego collapsing under its own weight. Around noon, a new message appeared from an unfamiliar number. This is Margaret, Victoria's mother. I stared at the screen before opening it. I have seen the messages. I am deeply sorry. You deserved better. If you need anything from us, please tell me. My vision blurred unexpectedly. Margaret had always been kind, warm in a quiet way, the sort of woman who remembered birthdays and sent handwritten cards. Knowing she had seen what her daughter had planned twisted something painful in my chest. I did not reply. I did not trust myself to express everything without reopening wounds. By late afternoon, Lauren sent one more update. Her parents canceled the rebooked vendors. She kept insisting you would come back. Her father said, "Son, he already left." I sat very still for a long time after reading that. There was something profoundly strange about watching other people clean up a mess I had escaped simply by walking away. I had left her condo, left the future she envisioned, and refused to return. But the chaos she tried to create in my absence still rippled outward. 2 days later, an email arrived from Victoria. Subject line: I owe you an explanation. I did not open it immediately. It sat in my inbox like something volatile. When I finally read it, it was long enough to be an essay. Apologies, confusion, pressure, insecurity, claims that her friends influenced her, insistence that she never meant to hurt me, paragraph after paragraph attempting to rebuild a bridge to a life I had already abandoned. Near the end she wrote, I would never actually lie about you being abusive. I was drunk. I was venting. I was embarrassed. I paused at that sentence. She did not say she would not do it. She said she would not actually do it. Subtle difference. Critical difference. The email ended with a request. Can we meet for coffee for closure? I closed the message without responding. Closure was not something she was entitled to. I had already closed that chapter the moment I handed the ring back across the glass counter. Over the next week, the fallout spread wider than I expected, like cracks radiating from an impact point long after the initial blow. Lauren kept me informed, sometimes sounding guilty, sometimes furious on my behalf. Chloe blocked her everywhere. 2 others stopped speaking to her. Even people who had defended her at first changed their tone after seeing the messages. She tried to blame everything on you. Initially, Lauren wrote, said you twisted her words, but no one is buying it. Then another message. Her parents are making her go to therapy, real therapy, not the kind she posts about on social media. A part of me felt vindicated. Another part felt nothing at all. Vindication requires emotional investment, and I no longer trusted anything connected to her enough to care that deeply. Then one more update. She asked if you would unblock her. I told her not to expect it. I did not unblock her. Some doors close once. They do not reopen just because the person on the other side suddenly regrets walking away from them. About a week later, the situation reached people outside our immediate circles. Old acquaintances messaged me cautiously. I heard something happened. I hope you are okay. You made the right choice. I always thought she cared too much about appearances. One message came from a cousin of hers I had met exactly twice. I do not know if this helps, but I always felt she took you for granted. I am glad you walked away. It helped more than I expected. Not because I needed validation, but because it revealed something Victoria had never understood. Respect is not always loud. It accumulates quietly in the background until it matters. The strangest moment came 3 weeks later. I was in a coffee shop near my office, waiting for my usual order, when someone said my name. I turned and saw Natalie, one of Victoria's friends from that lunch. The one who had asked whether I ever felt limited by my job. She looked different now, smaller somehow, as if confidence had deflated like a balloon losing air. "Ethan," she said softly, "can I talk to you for a minute?" I should have declined. Instead, I nodded. She clasped her hands together as if steadying herself. "I am really sorry for what I said that day at lunch. I did not think it would matter. I did not realize she would take it seriously. It mattered to Victoria. I know," she whispered. "I think I fed into her insecurities. Everyone in that group gets obsessed with status. I was projecting my own issues." Silence stretched between us. I did not rush to comfort her. She continued, voice tight. "I did not know about Miami until afterward, when I heard what she planned to say about you if you did not come back." She shook her head. "That is not someone I want to be associated with." I studied her for a moment. The version of me from a month earlier might have reassured her, minimized it, tried to keep peace. The version of me standing there simply said, "Thank you for telling me." Relief washed across her face. We parted without another word. I walked out with my coffee, sunlight sharp against the sidewalk, feeling strangely lighter. At home that evening, I noticed something I had not recognized before. The apartment felt calmer, quieter in a good way, less like a place constantly bracing for judgment. The refund money from the ring sat untouched in my savings account. Every time I considered using it, I hesitated. Maybe I would take a solo trip somewhere I had always wanted to go. Maybe I would invest it. Maybe I would leave it there as a reminder that walking away had value. What mattered was not how I spent it. What mattered was that it represented a future no longer negotiated with someone else's expectations. Gradually the anger faded, then the hurt, then even the sense of betrayal dulled into something distant. What remained was freedom, not triumphant freedom, not dramatic, just quiet, steady, deeply right. Victoria once said her friends believed she should aim higher. But the truth was simpler. She had aimed outward toward approval, status, appearances, not inward toward the life we were actually building. While she chased the illusion of something better, she lost something real. And I realized something equally important. I was not a stepping stone, not a safety net, not a backup plan. I was a partner someone either valued or forfeited. And she had forfeited me, completely, irreversibly. Months later, on a crisp autumn morning, I found myself walking along the lakefront before work, hands in my coat pockets, cold air sharp in my lungs. The city skyline reflected in the water like a promise rather than a pressure. For the first time in years, I was not planning around someone else's ambitions, not calibrating my choices to fit a shared narrative. Just moving forward, one step at a time. Free. My phone buzzed in my pocket. An unknown number. I glanced at it, then slid the phone back without answering. Some stories do not need epilogues. Some people do not need access to the person you became after surviving them. I kept walking. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Visit our channel for interesting and intriguing stories.